My name is Jenny, and I'm currently a Master of Arts Music Performance Research candidate here at Monash. My paper on Kaija Saariaho's Ballade will open with a brief discussion on the concept of spectralism in music, and then examine Saariaho and her compositional style in this context. And we explore the characteristics of spectralism in her case study and how they exhibit it in her performance. The aim of this study is to explore the principal ways through which my performance brings out the spectral characteristics in Ballade. Due to the scope of this presentation, I will concentrate on two examples from my case study. At the end of my speech, I will give a performance of the Ballade. There we go. Spectralism defines a change in artistic thoughts that emerged in the 1960s as a reaction against the need to grow serialism. This movement initiated in France through the creative outputs of composers such as Tristan Moral. Through the spectral perspective, the depiction of timbre becomes a forefront parameter in the composition. Timbre, or tone color, is defined as the quality and texture of sound through which a listener distinguishes the differences between two productions of the same pitch. Spectral composers seek to control timbre through the domain of sonic archetypes, termed spectra. Instead of intervallic relationships and multiple developments of pitches, composers examine the physical construction of sound, such as the harmonic or overtone series, to investigate the means of manipulating timbre. A harmonic series is a collection of sounds called harmonics that are multiples of the lowest frequency or the fundamental of the set. For example, I have a harmonic series here of the low C of the piano. As you can see, the first 5 harmonics in this set produces the perfect octave, perfect fifth, and the major third with the fundamental, which is the lowest pitch, as shown in this image. A spectral investigation of the physical constructions of sound is often assisted with the development of computer technologies, such as the UX workstation, software to isolate, map, and alter individual harmonic. Consequently, spectral compositions often feature electronics and devices such as a pre-recorded tape. This attention towards the acoustic quality of sound accentuates the concept of tension and release in music, and accentuated over the ideas of consonance and dissonance. In perceiving the intensity of sound as a prominent expressive element in music, composers utilize texture changes to facilitate structure. Academics such as Damien Corset and Karen Siegel recognize the Paris-based Finnish composer Kaija Saariaho as one of the leading living composers who composed through a spectral perspective. Saariaho's fascination in timbre began in the 1980s from her work at IRCAM, which is the Institute for Research and Coordination in Acoustics and Music in Paris, France. This compositional trait has since then permeated throughout her creative outputs. Her most widely performed works during this period, such as the Verbal Endowment for Orchestra and Tape, utilize live electronics and macrotonality to create a continuum of sound. Towards the end of the last century, Saariaho turns her attention to acoustic instruments, especially the woodwinds and human voice, in her exploration of timbre. I will now introduce my case study, which is the Ballade for solo piano. Saariaho's Ballade will contribute as a part of my recital program in support of my research on the concept of narrativity in music. There is currently very limited review of the work and its performance. There is furthermore only one commercial recording of the work available, which was performed by Daria Losifova in 2005. However, due to the scope of the presentation today, I will not conduct a comparison between her interpretation and mine. Composed in 2005 for the pianist Emmanuel X, the Ballade is one of Saariaho's few compositions for the piano. The scarcity of the piano as a solo instrument in Saariaho's work, and as well as in existing spectral repertoire, is predominantly due to the instrument equal temperament tuning. This tuning process asserts the pitches on the instrument and renders it not as convenient or versatile in pitch constructions as, for example, the string instruments. Saariaho conceives in the ballade a theme that emerges from texture. As the work progresses, it is subjected to a wide range of contrasting timings from ominous to light, and expressive indications such as furioso, which means furiously, and tristolentum, which means sadly, in the score. In doing so, she treats the piano as an orchestra and examines the instrument's capacity to facilitate tonal contrast across extreme register distances and connects musical depictions with textual development. To overcome the limitation of the tuning system, Ballade exhibits spectral characteristics such as emphasizing noise and sound, as through the frequent use of glissandos and tremolos, and a horizontal approach that based on the ostinatos. Since the ballade is episodic, as following the genre's tradition of structural liberty, it requires variety and integrity in performance. The aim of my performance is to create a diverse palette of timbre that illustrates those present in the score. Amongst the many spectral characteristics that are present in the composition, I'll be concentrating on the two aspects that are the most widely perceptible throughout the piece. My first example today is the Misterioso passages. There are three Misterioso passages throughout the composition, constituting approximately half of its duration. These sections demonstrate spectral characteristics through the extreme register range that engages the lowest as well as the top octaves on the piano, with dynamics that fluctuate from pianissimo, which is very, very, very soft, to mezzo piano. Saariaho presents a textural background of two chromatic rhythmic ostinatos against which she entwines disjunct thematic material. I to learn how to use this pointer here. Here we go. As illustrated here in my diagram, we have two ostinatos. Here's the first one and the second one. These ostinatos show conflicting rhythmic patterns of sextuplets and even semiquavers. And they engage bass notes from the lowest octave on the piano, which is circled here in blue. The horizontal nature of these ostinatos prompts clusters in the play together instead of a definite chord or harmony. I perceive in the score that as the dynamics grow softer, the harmonic clusters in the Misterioso sections transpose to higher registers on the piano to facilitate a parallel timbre. William Cesars argues that the quality of sound relies on the number and prominence of overtones or harmonics produced as the strings vibrate at different frequencies when the fundamental pitch is played. The thickness of the strings in the bass register on the piano generates a richer spectrum of harmonics than the higher register on the instrument, where the overtones or harmonics from the higher partials are easily perceptible. Consequently, as the tone clusters transpose higher, the higher partials of the harmonics becomes less prominent, hence the sound becomes less intense in color. This register change requires the attentive employment of the sustaining pedal to highlight the choice of harmonics and to avoid merging the passage into an incomprehensive cloud of sound. As an example, figure 2 here, here we go, shows a summary of tone clusters employed in the final Misterioso passage in Ballade. My pink arrows, they used to be pink, anyway. The pink arrows here highlights the rising of motion of the tone clusters. Portraying a sonorous lower register, I employ quick successions of light changes of the sustaining pedal, or generally referred to as the flutter pedal, which is shown here, where the foot barely releases the pedal. Through this action, the daimler is in constant contact with the strings on the piano to catch the higher partials harmonics, as well as the inharmonics, which are defined as the frequencies that are not exact multiples of the fundamental pitch, which is a result from sympathizing vibrations of the strings around the fundamental. This conjures a dark timbre suitable to Saariaho's mysterious indication. Additionally, I used the una chorda pedal, marked here, at the beginning of the passage to support the dampened color. My gradual release of this pedal at around here adds further timbral contrast as the passage progresses, as the hammers gradually return to position. Figure 2 also reveals the tendency of combining dense clusters in the higher register and sparse texture in the lower register with soft dynamics, such as here in the last bar. The thematic pitches also coincide with the harmonics from the lower partials of the fundamentals in these soft clusters. For instance, the thematic material mirrors a note from the lower cluster an octave higher in this bar, which I've marked out in green. This note placement adds definition to the overall timer by reinforcing the fundamental pitch. The color that I'm aimed for here is an intense yet delicate tone. I achieve this through applying marked articulations with firm fingertips to the thematic material while reducing the height and velocity of attack in the surrounding ostinatos to create a cushion of sound. My next example exhibits how my performance varies timely in Ballade. Saariaho implies an extensive range of contrasting color in this composition through her frequent changes of characterization indications in the score. I classify her indications into the overarching categories of furios, which means furiously, and tristamento, which means sadly, with various degrees of intensity. By approaching similar characterizations with similar paddling and articulation, my interpretation integrates the constantly varying depictions into one cohesive passage according to the intensity of texture. For example, I seek to present a brittle timbre in the passages relating to the furious descriptions. These sections display increased rhythmic movements in the lower tessitura and combine extreme range and dynamics such as fortissimo, which is very, very, very loud. As demonstrated in figure 3 here with my blue arrow, as the dynamics grow exasperate in the piece, the clusters also transpose to higher registers. This development eliminates a rich harmonic spectrum to create an increasingly crisp color. My articulation here strives to convey a sense of urgency and dryness through the engagement of firm fingertips and less degree of rubato. The markedness of my articulation facilitates tension to support the textual development of the furioso descriptions. In contrast, my articulations for the tristamento sadly depictions are more relaxed to produce a sonorous yet transparent sound that reflects a lighter texture. For example, I slightly accentuate the bass notes as well as the highest notes in the passage to emphasize the polarity in range in the sparse texture. My paddling in this depiction is frequent but limits the number of half and full pedal changes. This action allows the build-up of the harmonics from the sympathetic variations of the strings from the higher registers of the piano to form an ethereal timbre. This brings us to the conclusion of my analysis. My principal aim for this study was to highlight the spectral characteristics in Ballade, to create variety in timbre and integrity in my performance. In an interview with Andrew Ford in 1993, Saariaho commented that her role as a female composer should be respected and ratified as with the career of all composers. In presenting the Ballade in this conference today, I wish to acknowledge its value as a piece of spectral repertoire for the solo piano from a woman composer. It is also to elaborate its significance as an example of Saariaho's compositional style at the turn of this century, as she utilizes acoustic instruments as a medium for timbral explorations. Thank you.